کنفرانس بین المللی ایران چشمانداز تغییر 29 ژوئن 2018. پنل چهارم، قیام مردم ایران، نقش و جایگاه مقاومت سازمانیافته.
I thought it would be most useful to start by providing some historical perspective on where we are today, at this particular moment in time, by revisiting where we have been only a few short years ago and the significant progress that has been made by the democratic opposition to the regime in Tehran. When I was first asked to become involved with this project, more than 3,000 members of the MEK were being held virtual prisoners in a camp inside Iraq, Camp Ashraf. The conditions there were oppressive. The survivors were subsequently moved to another camp inside Iraq, the misnamed Camp Liberty. There, they were also subjected to inhumane treatment and periodic mortar attacks. Today, these brave men and women have been relocated outside of Iraq, beyond the immediate reach of Iran, in Albania. A few short years ago, the MEK was listed as a terrorist group by the US State Department. Both Democratic and Republican administrations refused to examine the underlying evidence, thereby perpetuating the slander. The American and international media were all too willing to repeat this lie, that the MEK were terrorists and that anyone who supported them was complicit with terrorism. Yet today, the truth has prevailed, and the MEK has been removed from the terrorism list. This is a great victory for the democratic opposition and a blow to the mullahs in Tehran. Almost a decade ago, the people of Iran rose up and took to the streets to protest an election that they thought was corrupt and stolen from them. They were brutally repressed by the regime. And for years, the protests have been sporadic. But in the last few months, we've seen a change. All over Iran, we have seen protests erupt spontaneously, protesting the endemic corruption, protesting the economic mismanagement, protesting the support for foreign adventures in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and elsewhere, instead of investing in their own people at home. The fear of the regime is diminishing, and the people are once again finding their voice. The momentum has clearly started to shift. It is increasingly on the side of those who want a democratic representative Iran that can take its rightful place among the great cultures and countries of the world. Credit must go, first and foremost, to Madame Rajavi and the members of the NCRI in America, here in France, and all over the world, who have kept faith in this cause and worked tirelessly to bring to light the injustices of the Iranian regime and deliver the hopeful message that there is another, better way forward. Congratulations to all of you. Is that you have many friends on your side, here on our panel and throughout America and Europe, who all want a better future for the Iranian people. We all want to help. We all want to see you and all the people of Iran enjoy the benefits of égalité, fraternité, and liberté. That is the goal, and we are today closer than ever before to realizing it.
Okay, we are indeed at a very hopeful time, and I think though there are dangers lurking if we're not careful, even as to this gathering. And so I can't stress strongly enough what Mitchell Reese said about the need to make it clear who we are and what we stand for, and that this organization is something different from what has been portrayed. So far as the uprisings in Iran, there is a material difference between what we saw before and what we see now. These are widespread. They are not confined to Tehran. They didn't start in Tehran. They are widespread throughout the country, and that is an enormously hopeful sign. In a perverse way, I think it may very well be that we owe a debt of gratitude, albeit a left-handed compliment, to the former President of the United States, who gave the Iranian government an enormous amount of money in connection with the JCPOA. And the population of Iran now sees that that money is not going into the economy, has not gone into the economy. They have seen no benefit from it. Instead, it's gone both to line the pockets of the people who oppress them and also in support of foreign adventures. And when you see the slogans at these uprisings, which are focused on telling the Iranian regime, we're not interested in Lebanon, we're not interested in the problems of the Palestinians, we're interested in the problems here. And we want the money used here. That is a very hopeful sign, and what it shows is the communication in Iran is alive and well. I think one thing that we could do that would be helpful would be to provide people in Iran with means of communication so that they can get the message out to one another and throughout the country, and keep this tide going.
Thank you. Louis.
Yeah, thank you, Mitch. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for your commitment, and particularly, I think all the members of the panel want to thank the young men and women, all the men and women in Iran who are, once again, coming to the battlefronts of liberty and leading the cause that's been supported so well here by the MEK. But I agree with Mitch that this is really a historic moment. I think there are a set of circumstances existing now that have never existed before. Monday passed this week, as you probably know, was the 22nd anniversary of the Khobar Tower bombings. 19 Americans and dozens and dozens of Saudis were murdered by that attack, which was a IRGC attack, which funded the Hezbollah in the eastern province to launch that attack against the United States, which ironically was enforcing the no-fly zone over southern Iraq. So what has changed and what has not changed? The regime and the IRGC continues to export terrorism, whether it's in Syria or Yemen or Iraq or the Gaza. That has not changed. All of the pressure that's being put on the regime, both internally and externally by the resumption of the U.S. sanctions, has not changed or deterred the primary goal of exporting terrorism. However, the command and control of the regime has begun to deteriorate very seriously. It's not just the students and academics who are upset and expatriates. As the Attorney General said, the anger and the activity and the courage being shown in the bazaar in Tehran, the capital city, is absolutely amazing. These are the shopkeepers, the backbone and the spine of the Iranian economy, and they are angry. Why are they angry? Well, that's deteriorated from 40% just over the last few months and continues to get worse. The resumption of sanctions is a key change and a key catalyst. We're finding out more and more about the deficiency and really the impropriety of the agreement that was struck by the last administration with respect to Iran. We found out just this week in the Washington Post that there was a secret arrangement where the Secretary of the Treasury, Jacob Lew, got OFAC to grant a license, and tried to coerce 2 American banks into doing dollar transactions with the regime. Very wisely, the 2 banks refused. And of course, the administration lied to the Congress about whether there was a side deal with respect to that. So the sanctions are back, and the impact is immediate. Not only won't Nike give cleats to the national team, but Total has pulled out of the South Pars 2 project, despite what their government would like them to do. Daimler, Siemens, all the other companies will not take the risk of violating the secondary sanctions. In Total's case, Total is a great test case. Total is a huge multinational French company, but 90% of its transactions are financed by U.S. banks. and 30% of its shareholders are Americans. So that board, despite what the Paris government would encourage them to do, is not going to violate those sanctions. I think the combination of all these things at the same time is a very, very unique opportunity. And like any struggle, but particularly a struggle where people's lives have been lost and are at risk, it's really the time to push forward with confidence, with persistence, and with a vision. But it's an exciting time. It's a dangerous time, as the Attorney General said. But the people who are here this weekend have not shown any fear of danger or any reluctance to act. And I think now is the time to act and act boldly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.